Alright, enough procrastination on this. I'm going to get this review out of the way. So, last night I watched The Sound of Freedom, and it's pretty good. Legitimately, it's pretty good. It's not entertaining, especially not by any a traditional standard at all. It's more serious, grounded, kind of slow burn pacing, uh, fairly compelling and gripping acting in this sort of movie. And before I get too much deeper into it, I want to address the elephant in the room, and that is the controversy, which really shouldn't be a controversy about this movie. In case you all don't know, Sound of Freedom is a story about a real life guy named Tim Ballard who goes on a hunt to track down and shut down this child sex trafficking ring and save a couple of kids in the process, or quite a few kids in the process as well. And I've done my research to find that the story itself overall is legit, and that is really what is the important part, is that it raises awareness of a rather serious issue and in a truthful manner. It takes some liberties with some of the truths around the actual story, but the story itself, for what is definitely important, is true. He saves some kids, he shuts down the trafficking ring, and yeah, and I want to just implore anybody who got a bad taste in their mouth because of how much that the right is praising this movie and the fact that it was helped to be um spread out by Angel Studios to be yeah, spread out. There's a different word for that. I'm trying to distributed. That's the word that I was thinking of. That the distribution company was Angel Studios. Ignore that fact, okay? Do not let the partisan left media, Rolling Stone, I'm looking at you, dissuade you from watching this movie. When you go watching the movie, it makes no praise of any right wing figures at all. In fact, reading into this movie, there was some consideration that they were going to feature Glenn Beck in this movie, funnily enough, but not for frivolous reasons. And the truth of the matter is that Tim Ballard, he had help from Glenn Beck for funding him after he quit his job from the DHS. They even recorded some scenes, some clips for showing that little factoid in the movie, but ultimately they did not show it because mainly of time constraints. But all the same, they didn't even feature Glenn Beck, which they almost did, but they didn't even feature him to show him in a positive light or really any light at all. And it does not even flirt with any conspiracy theories about pedophilia in Hollywood or pedophilia among politicians, even though saying the slogan of Jeffrey Epstein didn't kill himself would be pretty based. They didn't do any of that. No, it was just going on about plain, regular, milk toast sex trafficking that goes down in Latin America, or just in the world in general, for that matter. More specifically, it does take place in Colombia, this story, but regardless. So there was nothing. The most that you could say is that it was clearly pro-Christian, or at least it had a couple mentions of being rather pro-Christian, like the quoting of the one verse saying that those who harm a child, it would be better for them to just have a millstone tied around their neck and they get sank into the ocean from it. Which who would really disagree with that verse? I mean, you don't have to be religious to agree with that. And also, God's children are not for sale. Like, really, putting aside the fact that it called the children God's children, you don't have to be religious to agree with that saying that children are just not for sale. Plain and simple. There really should be no controversy, no partisanship about this movie as far as the support for it and adoration for it goes. But lo and behold, here we are. Rolling Stones made a smearful hit piece about this movie, which I will be actually doing response to that on my main channel here within the next few days, because that article just really freaking pissed me off beyond any beyond any measure. But about the movie itself, I really am liking these slower burn, slower paced movies, especially with the MCU and other big studios and franchises like that. They're just having this like rough shot, rushed pacing within their movies that just makes it hard for you to catch a breath. But this movie was a rather slow burn, took its time, focused in a lot on people's emotions in their face, including the kids. The kids actors were pretty good as well as the adult actors. Jim Caviezel plays as Tim Ballard. He did a good job. Is very serviceable. Not too wide a range of emotion, but it wasn't really much needed because Tim Ballard was stuck in all these situations of where he had to deal with pedophiles. I mean, how many more emotions are you going to espouse or show other than sadness or subtle pissed offness, subtle anger? Okay, and really, my favorite character of this movie was probably Bill Camp's character Vampiro, who was a sort of eccentric and charismatic, cigar rocking, hat rocking, underground trafficker buster from Colombia. And it was just really entertaining to see his rather eccentric and charismatic personality in contrast with Tim Ballard's straight man sort of personality that they had going here. That was fairly entertaining, in my opinion. And I will say there was one twist that they gave with the Vampiro character. I think Vampiro is the guy's name, or at least that's what the Wikipedia like showed his character's name to be. But anyway, there is this one twist that is makes it like really a jaded movie to watch, and I was all like, "Oh, what the fuck?" when I like figured out about it. Like you'll just have to see it for yourself. And I did look into it. The twist that they give about Vampiro did not actually happen, so that does seem to spark a question in my mind. Like, was the real life Vampiro really? Would he really be okay with this kind of twist that the movie seems to take to sort of help dramatize the movie? I mean, ultimately, it's not the case, and it's not really the focus of the movie. It's just something to add a little bit of drama on the side to help uh, compel you into the characters a little more. But regardless, um, it was still entertaining as a movie quality by itself. It was still, well, not entertaining. Entertaining is not the right word. It was still really compelling and interesting stuff as a movie aspect by itself. And yeah, probably the only flaws that I can really say that I have with this movie is one, it would have really been nice if they had Tim interacting with his family more so we could get a little bit more invested into that aspect of the movie. And probably the biggest flaw of them all is not near enough on-screen violence against pedos. Could have used a little bit more of that. Anyway, 9 out of 10. Go watch this movie. Ignore the mainstream media. Ignore all of it. There is really nothing wrong with this movie, aside from a few minor, emphasis on minor nitpicks. Hashtag save our children. God bless.